Right, so I hit record. The recording has started according to what I'm seeing on my screen. Hopefully, you all got a message for that as well. And I think you do when you join. So if anybody joins, they'll know that we are recording. But during the last meeting that we had, we decided, or I decided, to give everybody presenter or capabilities to have your video on and to speak. So please, use that appropriately. Don't everybody jump in. But since we have been having smaller groups, I just thought, hey, why don't we give everybody that capability? That way, we're not having to try and give somebody that capability in the middle. So everybody has that. So like I say, when we get to Q&A portion, feel free to turn your video on, turn audio on. But appreciate if you keep your audio off so that we don't get reverb and all those kinds of things. If you can just mute yourself until you are speaking, that works great or best. So let me go ahead and share my screen and do the intros and all of that. Um, all right, so can everybody see my screen? I believe you can. So again, welcome. This is the University Teaching and Learning Tableau user group. We started this group a year and a half ago. Got off to a pretty good start. We've got about 600 members as of yesterday, which is cool. But I've had some health issues and we kind of fell off, didn't get things scheduled, didn't have as many meetings. So we're trying to restart the group, get them going. So I have scheduled quite a few meetings pretty fast, rapid fire, so that we can meet our minimum of 4 during the academic year so that we can stay as an active TUC. So I'm really needing some help here, folks. If anybody wants to be professor for the day and share your experiences teaching or learning Tableau, shoot me an email. Let me know. We are looking for folks to run some sessions. I'm trying to schedule folks, but again, I've got some health issues which are causing me to kind of scale back on things, and so really looking for folks to help out. I always use the forward-looking statement. Somebody said we don't have to do this anymore. I always find it humorous. Here we are. I believe none of us that are speaking today work for Tableau, so we don't speak for Tableau. We don't recommend you do any buying, uh, any purchasing of software or services or anything based on what we are saying. We just all pretty much love Tableau and use Tableau in the classroom as a faculty or a student. And so that's why we're here, because we love Tableau. We love being a part of this community. Again, welcome to our April 2025 meeting. Real brief agenda today. Introduce you to the TUG and our leadership like I do every meeting. Eventually, I won't feel like we're a new TUG. I won't feel like we need to do that. But for a while, I just feel like let's do that every TUG meeting, kind of lay out what we're trying to do and try and encourage y'all to get involved. We always like to have a Tableau teaching tip, something about Tableau to help you teach better. We always try to have a student testimonial, but we haven't had one every meeting, but I'm trying to get one every meeting this spring. And so we have a student here today. I'm very happy for that. Love to share a resource. There's tons of resources out there. Always love to share a resource. And we always like to invite somebody to be a professor for the day. So we have an excellent professor for the day today. So I'm really pleased with our lineup today. And I'll try and move quickly so we can give them as much time as we can. So again, this is Tableau University Teaching and Learning TUG. Leanne at Utah State, Dennis up in Canada. The three of us were the original TUG leaders. They told us we could go up to 4. Then at some point they told us we could go up to 6. So we have recently added Rex on as one of our Tableau user group leaders, and we're looking for 2 more, or maybe even 3, because I need to kind of step back from this role, which leads to the next part. If you don't want to be active in leadership of the TUG, you can be active or semi-active or passive in giving us advice and ideas and helping us on the advisory board. So thrilled that Russ has stepped forward. uh, to join our advisory board. Looking for some more folks to join, or like I say, if we get more folks to join as leaders, I will slide into the advisory board and give advice. But I'm happy to run the meetings. So I love running the meetings. It's just all the coordinating and getting everything and all of that. It'd be great if we had some more leaders to share the burden, the help. So again, make this active for those of you that are here. If you're watching this recording, email me any ideas that you have for any of the components of our meeting. We are actively seeking folks to participate. So if you know some leaders, you know some folks who might want to be an advisor yourself, someone else put it in the chat or send it to me as an email. Dennis figured out how we can get to the chats last time, so that's good. We can get to the chat afterwards and see anything you put in there, because I know I'm just kind of flying along and I don't see the chat, can't see what's going on over there. So it's great if you can drop things in the chat or to email me. So again, what's our mission statement? We want to be a place where faculty, staff, students can network and discuss teaching and learning Tableau. So we want to view it from the teaching standpoint. We want to view it from the learning standpoint. What helps you as a learner? What helps you as a teacher? And even though we are the University Teaching and Learning Tug, and most of us are affiliated with universities, we're not limited to that whatsoever. So everybody can be a teacher. Everybody can be a professor for the day and come in and share with us what you like to teach using Tableau. And everybody can come in and be a student and give a testimonial to your experience in learning Tableau and what helped you do a better job, because that's ultimately what our mission is, to help everyone do a better job as a student or as a teacher. And my basset hound has come to enjoy this today. Maybe I'll lift him up later on. You can see one of my basset hounds here. So again, we like to have some Tableau teaching. Love that we can go through a Tableau user group meeting without ever showing Tableau on the screen, but it would be great if someone wants to come in and say, hey, here's some stuff. You may not have known this, because every time somebody does tip battles or gives some Tableau tips, I always learned something that I had no idea. And it just seems kind of foolish. I've been using it for 12 years or more, but there's lots of stuff we don't know, even if you're an expert. Everybody has tips, everybody has ideas. So if any of you have Tableau tips, teaching tips, love to hear those. Again, there's lots of resources out there, and we want to try and share resources at every meeting. And again, you don't have to be a professor to be a professor for the day. I bring them into my campus classroom, in person and virtually all the time. And we would love to bring you into our tug if you want to come in and teach and tell us about teaching with Tableau. We would love to hear that. So I'm going to redo my teaching tip from last time. For those of you who didn't watch the recording or didn't attend our last meeting, I highly recommend attending Tableau conference if you can, sometime at some point. My use of Tableau and my network of folks who use and teach Tableau exploded after I went to Tableau conference. It is such a great experience, and networking and everything that comes along with it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but the learning is just amazing, and the connections that you make are long lasting. Just some of the best folks. The community is what makes Tableau the best. Sorry, Tableau. It's not the software, it's the community. It's the folks that are involved in there. And so I highly recommend at some point you attend TC. Now, I know for some of you it's expensive, so it's great when your employer can pay for it, like mine does. That's always great. It was even better when I finally was able to speak at Tableau. So I was a speaker for the last 3 years. And again, that just opens up a whole nother panacea of what goes on behind the scenes of TC. And so I would love for everybody to get the opportunity to speak at TC. In fact, I think, Celia, you're speaking this year. Is that correct? I think you're one of the speakers.
Yes, sir, I am.
Have you spoken before at TC?
No, this will be my first time to get to go do it live.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you can come back and give us a quick blurb at one of our future meetings. Yeah, Doc was right.
That sounds great. Yes, I'll be happy to.
It's definitely cool, and gives you a whole different level of experience. We have all kinds of things education-wise going on there. So if you're going, make sure you look these things up. But I also want to do a plug for Salesforce Plus. Because of health reasons, I'm not attending this year, but I will be on Salesforce Plus trying to catch the sessions that are streamed live, and quite a few of them will be recorded. And so through Salesforce Plus, you will be able to watch any of the ones that get recorded. So I encourage you to go out and register for TC as a virtual attendee, because that's great as well. So again, going to the conference is a great way to really become a better teacher and become a better student the more that you know. So again, if you've got some Tableau tips, if you know some folks that would like to share some Tableau tips, we would love to hear from you. At this point, I want to introduce our student who is here today, Jane Kamata. She's a co-op at Bain, which is pretty cool. Maybe she'll tell us a little bit about working at Bain and what that experience has been. She is a CS and a business analytics student, which is a pretty high-powered combo there as a student. To do both of those things is really cool at Northeastern University. So I believe she's coming to us from Boston today. She is an aspiring data professional, but she's already pretty much there, folks. If you check out her LinkedIn page, check out her Tableau public page. Soon we can take that aspiring right off of there, Jane. And yeah, you are a data professional. She is also one of our Tableau academic ambassadors. I think 3 or 4 years ago, we started the Tableau academic ambassadors as students. And I said, hey, you should have faculty too. And so the next year we added faculty in. So the Tableau academic ambassadors are faculty and students. And I'm thrilled to have one of our Tableau academic or Tableau student academic ambassadors with us. And also, just to give you some clue on her Tableau abilities, she's also the Tableau Iron Viz Student Edition winner in 2024. So yes, Jane, you're not aspiring anymore. When you can win something like that, you are no longer aspiring. So welcome, Jane. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself that I left off, and how you got started with Tableau.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I guess I've been using Tableau for a bit now. My first introduction to Tableau was actually in high school. On my high school robotics team, they had a partnership, like the robotics organization had a partnership with Tableau, and so we got free licenses through them. And so I was making dashboards for like analyzing our competitors based on data we collected during competition. So I did that for about 4 years in high school, and my dashboards, I must say, were not very good. But like looking back at them now, I was like, ugh, I wouldn't show that to anyone. But now I kind of took a break from Tableau and data visualization for a little bit, and then I took a class at my university called Information Visualization, and the class utilizes Tableau as like the data viz tool, but it focuses a lot more on like theory and thinking about designing and how people are viewing dashboards. And so I feel like that because I already kind of knew how to use Tableau, I feel like that really leveled up all of my visualizations and just made everything click way more. And then since then, I did a co-op at Bain Capital last year, and I returned this year to do some slightly different things. And with that, I've definitely decided like I really enjoy it, and I'm looking to pursue data as a career.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. That's a great point. I know my students kind of get overwhelmed with, oh, I got to get Tableau installed and I got to try and figure out how to use it. And then I'm trying to teach them theory too. Man, wouldn't that be awesome if all my students used it in high school? And I've already used it, Doc. Yeah, you don't have to show me how to do this. Also, with the Tableau academic program, I encourage all of you who teach at a university, you can join the Tableau for Teaching program and get that 1 year free license. We're phasing it out for students and saying, hey, we want you to use the cloud or we want you to use the Tableau public edition. But faculty like myself who still love to have the full desktop and have the students have the full desktop, you can still get licenses for your class. And so you get a code and your class uses that code. And so I encourage everybody to look up the Tableau for Teaching curriculum stuff. And we've done that for 3 previous meetings. So go out and find our previous events, find the recordings, find out more info on the Tableau for Teaching curriculum. But it's really great to do that. So I'm curious, Jane, did you use Tableau in any other classes or just the ones where you were required to? Have you found that, hey, I could use this instead of Excel or something else in any of your other classes?
Um, I guess I did have to use it for my accounting class actually, which was very interesting because we were just making bar charts in it, so I'm not quite sure why he felt the need to do it. I was like, okay, you do you. And then I did use Tableau Prep for a data mining class I was taking, just because I like how it displays kind of a sample of your data as you're going, instead of something like Alteryx where you don't get as much of a look into what you're doing. So I did that for that project, and I think I also used some Tableau in that. And it wasn't a requirement to use Tableau, but it was just easier for me instead of trying to make the charts in Python, since like at that point I already prepped it in Tableau Prep. Um, yeah, and I just wanted to echo as well. I definitely encourage everyone like to get your students the license through the instead of having them use the Tableau public edition, just because it is more powerful. So I feel like me personally, as a student who's currently on a student license, even though I think as an ambassador I can get it outside of it, but I'm still on the student one. Um, it is definitely like I'm a little afraid once I don't have it anymore, I have to go back to the normal version. And I don't think it includes prep either, so I'll have to go back to Alteryx, I think.
Yeah, if your faculty gets a class license, it does include Tableau Prep. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
great. See, you're a professor for the day. You're letting the faculty know, hey, besides Tableau Desktop, you also have access to Tableau Prep. The same license carries for both. I don't know what's going to happen with Pulse and Tableau Next and all the yada yadas, but I do know that the instructor licenses and the student licenses do still combine and allow you to use Prep and Desktop. So thanks for bringing that up because I totally had forgotten about that. I need to start thinking about where could I use Prep with my students as well. So what kind of advice would you give to students who are just starting out with Tableau? Because some of my students are really scared when they're starting out. So student to student, what kind of advice would you give to students just starting out with Tableau? What's some advice or some things you did that helped you learn it when it can be overwhelming to start?
Yeah, I feel like Tableau has a lot of features that make it easier when you're starting, like the Show Me tab. I know that's like a good starting point. I think a lot of people also, I think, make the mistake of not understanding the data they're given. Like in a teaching setting, you're usually providing students with the data set, but then they might not think about, oh, I don't really understand like what each row means. And so I think that's also important for the accuracy of the visualizations, besides just like learning how to use Tableau. Um, trying to think. I feel like to me, Tableau comes very intuitively. So it's hard for me to think about how like I first approached it when I was learning in high school. But I always think looking up, I'm more of a reader than a video watcher, so I like looking at all the blogs online and trying to work those out myself. Or I'll if I see something on Tableau Public where I don't know how it works, I'll download it and then like deconstruct it that way. So I think that's useful, but that can also be very overwhelming if you're first getting started. So I feel like the Show Me tab and then just trying to figure out like once you get to Show Me, then it's like, oh, why did Show Me put these pills in certain spots? I feel like would be the next step after that, to try to figure out how you can build your own visualization.
Yeah, definitely. And I would reiterate something you said a few minutes ago. don't be afraid of those first visits. I tell my students, keep them all on there because it shows the progression. It shows where you started, when you started, and where you've gotten to today. So when I look at your Tableau public viz, I'm like, whoa, look at this. You've got, I think, like 16 visits out there, and they're all awesome. And I'm like, oh, I want to see some of your early ones, because it just shows that progression. I think it's always nice to have it, but not being afraid to share, and to find things out is great. I personally am the same as you. I love on Tableau Public to download vizzes and try and re-engineer. How'd they do that? That's kind of cool, that they did that. But some students are better with watching videos, and so there's lots of video material out there. Lots of folks with YouTube channels and things out there. We've got click-through tutorials. Trailhead, I'm going to talk about here in a second, is another place to go. There's just that's when I say the community is the best. Depending on how you learn best, there is a method out there to help you. And so for you, Tableau Public sounds like it was a great resource for you to re-engineer and see how people did things. But students are different. And so again, that's why I really love Tableau and the community. Let me ask you, I can't let you go without asking you about the ambassador program. How did you get involved in the ambassador program? I think it's good for any of the students out there to maybe visualize themselves being a Tableau ambassador.
Yeah, after I won Iron Viz Student Edition last year, I had attended a Tableau conference too. So when you were talking about how like after you went to Tableau conference, it really like encouraged you to make more visits and get more involved. I definitely felt that as well. And so after I won, I attended Tableau conference. I was kind of thinking about what I should do next, and I felt like I still have the time I still have 2 years left of school, so I was like, "Oh, I'll I'll get more involved. I can apply to be a Tableau ambassador, and then I could do more on my campus and think more about and have like the access to the ambassador resources as well, which has been really cool." Um, yeah, and then I guess as an ambassador now, I think well, now that they've opened up more of the meetings to the public, it's a little different, but at the start, it felt very cool to be able to see the behind the scenes of how Tableau is being developed and like the product releases. And then also just being in the channels with all of the other ambassadors. There's so many things that they talk about that I had no idea about before. So just getting exposure to everything has been super interesting, especially on more of like the administrative and like server side that I hadn't really experienced since I just been making visits on my own. Not really publishing to, like if you're working for a company. So I think that has been like my biggest takeaway from the program so far is just getting so much more exposure to everything Tableau.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's excellent. And again, um, you can be a professor now. You've got it. You've got it down. You've got the background. You've got the experience. The faculty can nominate their students to be Tableau academic ambassadors, but students can self-nominate if they don't have a faculty who's nominating them. They can self-nominate and go through the process, because it's really great to have the student ambassadors, and I think it's a wonderful program, and I'm so glad that it's out there and effective. And I would just love to see more and more people getting involved in it. So again, any faculty can nominate a student, or again, students can self-nominate. And in fact, that goes across all ambassador positions. Actually, you could be nominated by somebody that they think you're good for those positions, or you can self-nominate. And then you go through the review process, and then they announce them each year in the fall. So again, Tableau Ambassador is a great program. I couldn't find my Tableau Ambassador shirt or anything, so I'm wearing my Play Games with Tableau shirt instead because I couldn't find anything Ambassador. Since we've got ambassadors on the tag today. Anything else you'd like to share about your experience as a student or in working with Tableau at all before we shift gears to our next segment, Jane?
Uh, I guess I guess something I didn't mention as well about being ambassador is I got the chance to work on a Tableau academic like new project that they were launching. So I guess I could shout that out. I believe. Let me see if I can find it. It's actually my most viewed viz on Tableau Public. So that was cool, and I got to have visit the day for it, which is also cool. So like I wouldn't have had the opportunity if it wasn't for being an ambassador. So I think just like it opens a lot of doors as well. Um, let's
Yeah,
see. Oh, okay. I found the name of the project. Let me see if I can send the link. It was called Press Start. Maybe someone has seen it. But it was a collaboration with the Games Night Viz tag,
yes,
and they have a video games data set. So if you like have students who've been working a lot with the movies, like Data Plus movies or Data Plus TV, then the video game data set is similar, but I think it actually has a little more going on. So it's actually, yeah, it's that first viz on the top left there. So this data set has, I think, more to work with besides, uh, like, there's more numerical fields, I believe. So I think this data set is good to work with for students because there's a lot of different things you can visualize. Whereas, like, the movies or TV, I think a lot of people have done movies or TV since they've been big projects. So there's a lot of ideas out there. I think I recommend this data set. I'll try to find the link after I'm done talking, but I highly recommend this project that was put out by Tableau Academic Program.
yeah, yeah. Thanks again, Jane. Yeah, last Tableau user group meeting, I talked about movies and TV as a great data set. So today you just shared a resource. You were just our share a resource person saying, hey, this game's data viz set of data as a student, you really enjoyed working with it. Hint, hint, faculty out there, check out the game's data viz data set. It might be a good project for you to include in your class. Again, thanks so much, Jane. I know you've got another meeting to run to soon here, so I wanted to make sure that we put you on early on in the meeting. But you're welcome to hang around and catch Celia's talk for as long as you can. Look forward to seeing you down the road. Maybe we'll meet at a TC some year. I'll, I'll
Yes.
I'll be following you to see what great things you do, Jane. Because again, take that aspiring right off of there. Now you are a data professional,
Yeah.
and you can teach now because you've experienced so much with Tableau already. So let me share my screen quickly again as we pivot. Where am I? Stop. Whoa, no, don't do that. Share screen. Go back to our meeting deck because I do want to go ahead and share a resource, or again remind you, if any of you are a faculty and have students that you'd like to have be a student testimony on here, shoot me an email. If any of you are a student and your faculty is not recommending you, send me an email. I've talked to several students in the last month about coming on, and I'm really thrilled that Jane was able to make it today. So again, Game Night Data is a great resource. Check it out. I wanted to give a shout out to Trailhead today. I think Trailhead is a really cool resource. I don't know that faculty are really aware of all that is there and how it is rapidly changing and getting much better. So I just went out yesterday and grabbed my profile off of Trailhead. So I don't know if I'm bragging or if this is shabby. For any of you out there, I got 40 badges and I got 10,000 points. I've made it to adventure level. But there are lots of badges, lots of activities you can do out there. And one of the coolest things they're doing now is they are embedding Tableau into Trailhead. So when you're going through some of the stuff on Trailhead, it is like you are in Tableau desktop or Tableau public edition, actually seeing and doing these things and interacting with it, which might really be good for faculty to get students to get comfortable with the interface and how it works through the Trailhead framework. So again, I would encourage you all, if you have not gone out to salesforce.com and found the Trail Blazer training that is out there. We used to have a lot of Tableau training on the Tableau site, and they are porting that all over to Trailhead. It's a really cool environment, and I encourage you all to check it out. And they've got some badges that are upcoming. You can earn badges by attending. So attend Trailforce conference even through Salesforce Plus, and you can earn another badge. And so Trailhead is a really great resource. I think it is underutilized by faculty, and so I wanted to bring it forward today as our resource for the day. If I So again, if you have some resources, if you have some ideas, if you want to come on and share a resource at our future tech meeting, shoot me an email, drop it in the chat, find me. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Tableau Public. I am on Twitter. If you want to find me on Twitter, and send me a message. So now I want to shift gears to our professor for the day. We had through the Tableau for teaching, we have instructor spotlights where we spotlight instructors. And Celia was our instructor spotlight. Was it only last month, Celia, or was it 2 months ago? It was recent. And when she was going through all this awesome stuff, I said, Celia, you got to do this again. You got to come on the tug, please, please, please. So I'm really thrilled that Celia has come today. She has a really cool business that she runs. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Find data drivers out on the web. I don't know if she's going to self-promote during her talk, but I'll promote for her. She does some really great stuff. Check her out. Check out her Tableau public profile. I can bring it up if we need to today. But she's got some stuff out on Tableau public. We are all in the same kind of business here. And I'm really, really pleased that Celia has joined us today to be our professor for the day and share her experiences and tips with teaching Tableau. So take it away, Celia.
Thank you, Doc. Very kind of you. Jane, very impressive. Great to meet both of you. And looking forward to eventually seeing some of you in TC, one of our conferences. So let me see if I can share my screen. And Doc is correct. I was doing something in the ambassador presentations, and he asked me to come share with you guys. And I was very humbled by that, and would just grateful to be here. I have kind of a unorthodox kind of background and more of the practitioner turned educator. Love the fact that I can help people get better jobs with analytics. In particular, I've seen massive things happen with people coming up to speed with Tableau and what that does for them in the market. So I think that there's a lot of auxiliary tools around Tableau that when you're doing Tableau, they tend to like learn also. You've mentioned prep, Jane mentioned Alteryx, and it's just but the central nervous system of creating those insights tends to be Tableau, which is fantastic. So I work out at University of San Francisco as a part-time adjunct out there. I also teach for a bunch of some various boot camp organizations and have had some pretty unique immersive experiences. I think that that's kind of my passion has been any chance to help someone get to an internship. That's what the main courses I've taught at USF have been either applied business technologies, data visualization, or a principles of data analytics is really focused on the metrics and in the various domains. What is the math we're actually doing? It counts for math credit. So anyway, I love it because it's all analytics focused, but helping people get into those internships and have something in their portfolio that approximates, proves up their skills, right? And don't look at my Tableau public. I need to improve it is how we need to say that. So I'm often the goal in what I'm doing is helping people go from sort of zero to hero. And the target normally is trying to get the desktop certification in the zone of being able to accomplish that from a technical point of view. But more than anything, the immersives that I worked with are around the world and just people who have done maybe handled reports of sorts, but are not in tech. So it's been just a real joy to get to participate like that. And that was what got me down to University of Bahamas a couple of years ago. So the things I had on deck to potentially share is kind of the overflow of my experience with you guys is just some things about learning through narratives, some logistics that I like to use. I think AI and generative AI is massive. And, I spent a lot of time last summer in a professional development class with a lot of other college professors around the universe. And it was really very rich experience of collaborating and debating what our policies should be and what is the best role for it with our students. And of course, depending on what you're teaching, it's going to be a little bit different. But with me, I'm mostly teaching Python, SQL programming, and then analytics and usually Tableau, but maybe Power BI, so something in between, right? A lot of Excel, just because Excel lives everywhere. So, helping people come off of that fear of, oh, AI is going to take our jobs and kind of elevate the conversation to critical thinking, right? And where do we use it and how can we use it? And let's be sure and use it so that we're contextually relevant, having the vocabulary, able to do it, and then get work done faster, hopefully. So that's that confidence I'm trying to instill. And then I have favorite resources I'll share. So including a couple of versions of assignments I feel like have been re-rolled so many times that one in particular I'm really, really proud of. So anyway, so that's what we got on deck. First things first, I have been handed curriculum to deliver as well as authored curriculum, and then been in places like USF where I have the choice to blend. And I feel like when I have the opportunity to teach via narrative, it sticks so much better. So in any case, any possible way that you can incorporate a story and a narrative-based learning, I feel like it'll be a win. As in the absence of that, and even sometimes with that, the place that I see new analysts struggle is how to develop that mindset. So it's tool set mindset, right? But the mindset of how to pull those analytical threads. And I feel like that's the critical, that makes or breaks it, right? So sometimes we anchor on a workflow of what comes next, and that helps them have a foundation to work from. But when someone can, learn Tableau well enough to where the tool disappears and they're looking at the data and pulling those threads, I feel like that's when you really got to win on your hands. So some of the things I've used have been like frameworks like the 5 Whys. The founder of Toyota Industries is credited for getting that started in some of business environments. But then Andy Congreve has a very nice blog that I've linked here. It's rather old at this point, but it was awesome about applying that and then walking through, it is Superstore, but answering the question 5 times. And sure enough, by the time you get to the end of it, and to model that to students to where they could apply it to other environments. One of the things I used last fall at USF was the classic investigative reporting, who, what, where, when, why. And whatever you do, we're trying to move past the Captain Obvious stuff, right? The things that are superficial and everyone can see, of course, and help people find those hidden insights that can win the day and help companies make a difference in a meaningful way. So I also incorporate from the Tableau website these best practices that they have linked here for. I'll offer them a story arc, and then I'll ask them to take my data and implement a new story arc. So take a data story type and implement it in the data that we're working on. So just to help them learn that no matter what data they have in front of them, there's not just one way to drill down on it. Even if it's a time series, there's other ways to pierce through and look at data and expand our thinking on it. I've done a lot with accelerators and case studies, trying my best to help them make it real. So For the logistics of it all, I feel like having the logistics can make or break learning visual analytics, right? I think we probably all would agree on that. I have this standard saying of let me demonstrate and then we'll recreate. I'm careful to have no more than about 3 or 4 steps at a time so that we move through it together. If we're online, I insist they figure out a way to get 2 screens going. It can be a lot of different tech that will fit that need or fit that bill. Then I make sure that the materials are easy, no matter if that sounds like I'm letting them crutch on me or not. But I'll like in the classroom, I'll show up with a bunch of USB sticks so that the last semester I had my kids found these cool ones that have USB on one side and USB on the other. So Apple or PC, I was good to go. And I try to embed my conceptual slides inside of like images I bring into a packaged workbook so that we're in the tool and we stay in the tool. So that's been part of the way I try to make the classroom experience as much focused on the learning as possible and not get distracted with some of our logistics. So usually I've got a walkthrough doc on the side so that I'm big time Slack user. So Slack, I'll spin up a free Slack channel if there's not one there. Fortunately for me, USF and University of Bahamas both were Slack houses. Another big boot camp organization I work for, General Assembly, they have an enterprise license. But even if you do not have an enterprise license, Slack is an excellent tool for, coordinating, giving visual targets. Everybody's learning style, of course, there's all over the board, right? But to give folks a visual representation of where we're headed, some need more of the written words. So I'll have in a doc already spelled out, to drag and this to rows, this to columns, this to color, whatever, and then I'll show them. So I'm asking them to watch me first, but then I have multiple approaches for people to catch up. And then also that serves me well on anybody who's missed that session and needs to jump in and do the makeup work, right? Try to always give them a little bit of a start on, if we're not doing data imports that day, then have the data already present and then really focus the class activities on, an overarching narrative. However, building their capabilities with the tool as we go and continuing with some stretch activities afterwards as well. And these are just some screen grabs from some of the stuff. So trying to get them to be as creative as possible with adding reactions, teaching them to add things in threads. So like this one on the far right is where I've given them instructions about, using the full color range and reversing it, and then asking them to be creative in thread by posting their images. And you guys may already all do this, but from my experiences, then they see what the others are doing as well, and they're inspired or they're challenged or they're accountable at least, So if I have something I'm taking a class participation, I'm big on class participation because I'm usually flying to get there. So if they come to class, they're going to earn points. And so class participation, and this is a way for them to also, it's just a point of accountability and then also of expression and seeing what others are doing. And invariably others are inspired by what they see their classmates doing. We have agendas, prompts, polls, you name it. And then invariably we end up with, sidebar conversations that are showing up on my, on one of my Slack channels. I've noticed that folks after the cohort is over, they'll use it as a huddle device. And I really think that's cool because a lot of my students are disparate, in disparate places. Right now I've got an evening class and I have folks on 3 continents. So it's really amazing to watch folks from around the world connect and learn together. So talking about building on confidence with AI, there's just a few of the things I've done. I wish this was a roundtable when we were talking. I'd love to hear what you've been doing with yours on AI and generative AI. It's definitely been a hot topic this year, and where we stand on it. The policies at USF allow us to select one of 3 broad statements that they've developed so that we are unified in the approach, but being flexible based on what it is we're teaching. So when I'm teaching SQL, I want them to learn to be quick on the draw to look up syntax and use whatever online resource they are needing to use for that, because they are going to have to be the architect of SQL outside of my classroom. However, the expectation for the rate of completion has escalated with generative AI being in market. So they need to know how to get the task done, but they also now have to be able to get it done quickly. So that's different here with Tableau. It's I noticed, especially with ChatGPT, the feedback it gives me on how to do various things with Tableau is not quite as accurate as I would hope it would be. So hopefully after a while it'll improve. It's leaning too heavy on its understanding of SQL. So that doesn't always work with what's possible inside of Tableau. But in any case, there's enough AI built into Tableau that I needed to direct their attention to. And that's the main point of this right here. So helping them to research better questions to ask. This was an assignment I gave on more than one occasion this last fall of we would build things and we would be looking at the insights, and I'm careful to make them stop and reflect on what is this, so what, who cares what's next on each, like when we get to a beachhead of good things, and then ask them to use Data Guide to explore how that device works, how it provides additional insights, additional charts they don't have to build from scratch, and then I had them turn in screenshots of those like 2 charts that were new that they built that were something different. And I tried to keep them with some bounding boxes, but, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I didn't have to, I did say that if this was abundantly obvious or something we'd already covered, I was going to send it back to them and ask them to do it again. And they did not. So didn't have to do that. One more thing is to just ask them to question everything. This generation, it's a mixed bag about some who have grown up with authority structures where it's a little bit more strict. They have trouble with that, and others are already questioning everything. But inside of an analyst mindset, an analyst function, being careful to think outside the box and question everything, and respectfully, appropriately, diplomatically. This is a good place to practice it, right? So you also have to be grounded, though, in what's being measured in this environment and what matters here. Like most of my USF students are coming straight out of high school, so even if they have work experience, they have not run a business yet, right? So helping them to research those KPIs that belong in the different domains and being careful that they're focusing on the important things and looking beneath the surface to make sure that if there's a hidden insight, that whole idea of a watermelon profit situation where it looks green on the outside, but they're actually leaky profits inside on the red, that they have awareness that those things may exist, and be careful that they don't create ahas on things that don't matter. So we use team assignments to take a scenario and, improve the question, come up with questions and then ask them to revise them using ChatGPT. That usually is a pretty good way to help them incorporate it in an appropriate way. So favorite review resources I shared before, and I want to offer to you guys here. So as Doc mentioned, I feel like Trailhead has taken it to a whole nother level. So the data literacy, the pitfalls, there's several lessons there that I was able to slipstream use in my curriculum that were very supportive. And they have little small quizzes at the end of each unit. So, and yes, they're not taxing for somebody, but if they will review in between on top of whatever homework, I feel like that's a win. If they've been exposed to something before, they've come and we've discussed it in class, the conversation will be richer, deeper, of course. And it's just lovely. And it's, they can do it on mobile. It's very, I feel like, and the content has been elevated in my mind. So I'm not sure where exactly all these improvements happen, but the way it is now, it's worthy to investigate and to incorporate. So I actually had a few assignments where they were to review something, and then I would put the quiz for it on Canvas so that it was part of the grade. I love the industry and department page. It's a brag page for a Tableau, make no mistake. But I feel like if a student can see what success looks like and listens and learns how to parse that conversation apart to see what the struggle was, what they did to overcome it, what constituted a win, what math was involved. Was there any predictive analytics algorithms? Can they hear that? And that helps them become more street savvy on what they might have to do outside of the classroom. The accelerator workbooks, much the same, on them seeing with demo data what might need to be done in the different areas of interest. Because my folks usually have something that they're pursuing. They just may not have any background with it other than the idea of it versus or a vision for it. And this helps them put more flesh on the bone, for lack of a better way to say that. So I'm really excited to be working with Tyler these days. The Tableau for teachers and for training, the L&D part of it, the curriculum they're releasing, the projects and initiatives I'm seeing coming out of there has just been refreshing to be a part of it. I think as being a Tableau ambassador this year was like what Jane said, there's a whole nother world behind the scenes that I have been more involved with, and it's been a game changer. And just I'm really optimistic for what they are bringing to market to help support what we're doing in the field. So the next section here is about industry experts for best practice, and I have this note here about framework for self-assessment. Because visual analytics tends to be more of a creative discipline, right? And tools like Tableau can take it to a whole nother level of creative discipline. Jane's visualization that Doc showed, a perfect case in point, right? Lots of data behind it, but very elegant, very lovely, and kind of compelling and catchy, right? That tends to be something that, so in the midst of that sort of industry, I feel like I need to provide them theories, logic, structure, best practices, something that's a guidepost, especially for those of us who come from the more coding side of the house, logic brain kind of side, so that you have something to, some principles around what we're doing, right? So it's not just what looks good, but there's principles that we're adhering to and adhering as we move through it. So some of the things I really used repeatedly over the last 10 years have been those laws of association, then pulling up the pitfalls for them to see how that actually really matters, right? The big book of dashboards is full of ideas, but the 4 C's in particular is something I pulled out of there to give them a self-assessment framework. So all this back to these various ideas. So when they're sitting back and creating something, that they have a mental framework for judging it themselves for, is this going to be well received or not? Is it going to get the message across? I spoke at our local tug in person recently, which was so fun because who does in person anymore, right? But we talked about effective messaging and dynamic messaging. And, that gets into the data ink ratio and redundancy and how we get the message across without overwhelming people with cognitive load on too many words on a sheet, right? Ryan Sleeper has some really good things that have recordings from old TCs, by the way, like TC 18 and 19, where he spoke a lot about chart junk and did some reductions on live. I know that's pretty popular to do, but there's ways to do that where you eliminate so much where you also take the message away. I feel I've sat through a few of those, but Ryan has a really good balanced perspective on it. And also the book, The Big Picture from Steve Wexler, it's one of his newer ones. And I actually kind of groomed some lessons out of what I witnessed from his book, and then also have considered using it as maybe a reference. I recommended it repeatedly as a reference guide, but he does a lot about focusing on the message and delivering a message effectively, and depending on your audience, of course, but his materials figured in largely in some of the newer things I put together in the fall. For fun, pitfalls and illusions are always a good win. The correlation versus causation conversation never ends. And, these 2 sites have some really cool things that are easy pickings if you haven't already got your favorite few that you've gotten collected into your deck. And data is art. I used to list that as with links, but now there's too many links because that's out there. But to help people think outside the box, it's not just pie charts and bar charts anymore. We got a lot more many more effective ways to express ourselves with data. So moving on to few favorite lessons from mine recent year or two. Whatever I can encourage folks to do with data guide, I'm very happy for. It's to navigate that interface. I feel like that's a good place to start. So as Tableau Plus comes along, as whatever data guide evolves into, keep in mind, Data Guide is the current evolution, or last fall's evolution anyhow, of what we started with in about 2018, when it was Ask Data, and then Power BI had something close in Q&A, and then we had Einstein in the various levels of licensing. But Data Guide is present regardless, and I have been part of as an ambassador, got to be part of a research team that is now, they're about to take it to a whole nother level with generative AI and what's possible on building the Tableau agents and all that's coming. This summer will be like a big release, I do believe, in this regard. But helping students get started here, so they're equipped with some of the vocabulary and navigation to expect that from the visualization tool, I think is important. This is the dynamic messaging. For me, that's color and labeling. Okay, and what you do with it or what you don't do with it. And I feel like we were moving from worksheet tools or so much where we're using story points to more of infographics. I was Iron Judge. Participated as a judge for Iron Biz this year. And as I looked at the things that came to across my screen from around the world, we very much have a transition happening, at least on the ones that were being considered in that genre of standard size workbooks and tabs across the top, to now we're going to have a lengthy page we're going to scroll down through, and the temptation to put way too many words on there. And so being careful to pack as much as you can into as small a space as possible, so that the amount of text on the screen does not distract from your consumer, whoever your stakeholder or reader is. And so this was a lesson that I used. And I actually borrowed this for the tug group in March. I borrowed a Valentine's Makeover Monday kind of thing from one of the Tableau visionaries, Lisa Trescott, who is a prolific author of tutorials and also a professor at a college in California. And that was a huge win. So that worked really well. But to help people reconsider and then rethink how they apply color, and the opportunity, especially in Tableau, to create dynamic labels, make them come and go, the dynamic tooltip. That's a very elegant way to address whatever your user is, a reader is going to, and having that area be more rich than just what's on the surface. The visual inquiry patent for Tableau, of course, was at the intersection of being able for it not to be modal. Back in the early 2000s, of course, we had to configure and hit go, and for it to be able to visually inquiry to do as much filtering and intersecting of information as possible, as is reasonable based on the business practice in play. And that's what I feel like that's where we get to those hidden insights that are like the treasure hunt that everybody is on. I also rolled out a new lesson that was kind of like a combined of a lot of little small lessons to try to help people get to know your audience a little better. Borrowed some things from Steve Wexler's book. We did a little bit more research on some of the greatest hits of the historical notables, and found a little bit more information about, especially like Nightingale and what her situation was, and why the famous coxcomb, I believe is one of the labels it's called, looks almost like a rose, the thing that she's so noted for, and how different that was than her normal, and how she was very much trying to make a point about something that was urgently important to her in that moment. And then brought that forward, created some case studies, passed out these briefs on products that had failed on their initial launch, and they were coming up on the relaunch. And I gave the students all this packet of information, and then had them draw who their audience was out these little slips of paper, and then had them present as if they're presenting the data to that audience, and just to kind of help them rethink that we're not just going to always have the same things saying, presenting the data the same way, no matter who our audience is, right? And so that worked out pretty well. Probably will keep tuning that one. So this is a picture of Steve's book and the kind of comments that were very useful to me out of his materials. And he's one of the Tableau voices from the last decade that has really been very notable. It has a lot of wisdom to offer. Okay, my final one offering to you guys is what I ended up actually using for this final project last fall. This initially was something that my team was using back in 2021, a subset of this anyhow. We used to do Friday morning, and I was working full time in a place that did hire, train, deploy. We hired people that had lots of potential, skill them up, and then send them to market, right? So presentation skills were a big deal, and usually not abundantly present in folks who are very technical, right? Kind of goes without saying, but essential, especially for an analyst. You got to be able to communicate, regardless of being introvert, extrovert. Just you need to learn the abilities to do those things. And so I had them using this analytics, and we called it analytics in action. We had them research how these from the Bragg site that Tableau had provided for us. We were they've got it organized super well too. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but like this is the industry perspective on it, and they also have it written out by department. So you have, and for each, so here it is. So Tableau for departments. So if you want to be in HR analytics versus sales analytics, or you want to be in healthcare versus sports or consumer gaming, like all those bigger decisions, this also can help students kind of pre-think that and explore the what ifs that they've already been nurturing the ideas on. And so what we did with that is help them focus on one of those, create a beachhead around something that hopefully is in line with their major, right? And then start looking at what were the indications of health, what are the pressing concerns right now based on the customer reports they were seeing there, and identifying those KPIs, those key metrics. And then look at the things from a larger context. What is the significant markets going on, micro, macroeconomics that may be impacting what's happening in that world, right? So before we ever get to looking at data and visuals at all, we're like kind of building a framework of what is important here, what matters, how are we measuring success, how are business surviving. I'd like to try to have them look at the math behind the things a little bit, see if they can look at not only what descriptive statistics might be there, but what predictive statistics might be helpful to be there. If they didn't see anything that was there, they usually are. There's usually something that's there. And then find either an accelerator or something from Tableau Public to support that conversation where they can demonstrate those stats being done. And then testimonies from a couple of customers, and then some sort of call to action. And this has evolved as well. And for this was unique. This was customized for my team last fall because of what I felt like they needed to do. So just, and I'll be sharing these things with Doc, and if this works for y'all, I invite you to jump in and use it. And that is what I have to present.
Well,
Any questions?
Thanks so much. I really appreciate your coming in. And for those of you who are students out there, don't you wish you had her as your faculty? And for all you faculty out there, don't you wish she was your colleague at your university with all these tips and advice and resources? That's what we want this TEG to become, is a place where now a faculty who is excellent at teaching this and has lots of ideas, and you could reach out to her and get some of her ideas and share your ideas with her and with me and Dennis and Russ and everybody out here in the TUG. It's really what our vision for this TUG is today. So I hope that you found today helpful. If anybody has any questions, we've got a couple of minutes if you want to drop a question in, or if you want to just unmute yourself and say, hey, I'm Dennis from Canada. Celia, I got a question for you. Feel free to do that, or like I say, reach out to us afterwards. I'll get the slide deck, and I'll make sure we get that posted on the event page and get it out to anybody who wants to follow up on that. But I would encourage you all to follow up with Celia and get her ideas, share with her your ideas of when you've tried stuff. I think we've all tried various things. We've hit and miss on different things, and I think it's a great place for us to come together and share ideas and spark something in our fellow faculty. And like I say, spark something in the students to say, hey, this is something you can achieve. I think Jane would make a great professor down the road. I'd love to see her follow through on that. Not enough students do that or think of that as a career. So I'm always saying, hey, you're good at this. You should consider this. But teaching and learning is what we're all about. And I hope we've shown a glimpse of that today. I encourage you to come tentatively. I put it for 3 weeks out on May 2nd for our next meeting. Don't actually have the professor for the day or the student lined up, but I think I do. I think he attended today. So I'm going to follow up with one of the students out there to see if we can get him at the next meeting. And I've got a couple faculty that I've talked to, but if any of you would like to be a speaker on May 2nd or May 16th, I think is the next one after that, so that we can hit our 4 meetings for the spring. Would love to hear from you. So I dropped my email in the chat there, but you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Tableau Public. You can find all of us out there. So thanks again, Jane. Jane, she's not here. Celia, thanks for being here. I really appreciate. You've got such a wealth of ideas, and in 15, 20 minutes, she gave us a great roadmap to being a better faculty. And so I really appreciate all the faculty out there who are working hard and sharing. I know that Celia is working with the academic curriculum folks on some new ideas and some new things out there. And you're all welcome to do that as well by joining the Tableau for Teaching group, and seeing the curriculum that's out there, and proposing new ideas for new curriculum, or jumping in on one that's been proposed and giving feedback and helping to make it better, or actually jumping in and helping to build it. There's so many opportunities for folks to get involved. So I just encourage you all to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop recording. So maybe that might encourage